to announce my retirement from international cricket, domestic cricket for Victoria and St Kilda as well. It's been unbelievable. I think my journey and my ride in international cricket has been phenomenal. I don't think I could have written my script any better.
Well, first of all, he's the greatest leg spinner the world has ever seen.
For all the cricket and all the conditions and all forms of cricket that he's played over the years, you could argue he's the greatest cricketer of all time.
Got him! There it is! Wicket number 700! And they can't catch him! ShaneWarne.
As a cricket captain, you couldn't ask for a greater person to have in your bowling side, or in your side in general, than ShaneWarne.
I'll tell you what you can't explain, none of us knew at the time, was the size of the heart. I mean, he just doesn't take no for an answer. He's never beaten.
The thing about ShaneWarne is that he's a connoisseur's delight. I mean, people who know about cricket purr about it. They've seen nothing like him. And more than that, he's a joy for the uninitiated. And that's the point about Shane. He's a star.
Those super people are special. They're not normal like you and I, really are they? They're on and off the field, their personalities. And Warne's been good for the game. There have been some moments he'd probably rather forget, but you can't take. You've got to take the whole ShaneWarne. And he was fantastic.
He's the one guy who's changed the face of the game, if you like. He's made bowling leg spin attractive, but he's the guy that drags you to, you pay your $20, $30 to come and watch him because you know he's going to put on a show for you.
ShaneWarne will never be replaced. He's so good, has been so good. He's had the greatest influence outside Sir Donald Bradman, in my mind, on the game of cricket ever, of any player. And to think that you can replace that, I think you're living a little bit in dream time.
I try to find out what triggered a chubby, red-headed, cheese sandwich-eating youngster to take up leg spinning.
Well, now I'm toned and an elite athlete. I still like cheese sandwiches and I've got blonde hair. So nothing much has really changed, Heels. I don't know, I just fell into it, I suppose, and then once I fell into it, I had an opportunity, and I think when you're young, you don't know what you want in life, and then when the penny actually finally drops, and you work out what it is you want, and that's when I had a taste of international cricket.
It's beautiful, mate.
Having played just 7 first-class matches, 22-year-old Warne was still finding it hard to believe this morning that he'd earned a baggy green cap.
I'm just very happy to be in a Victorian 12, let alone playing for Australia.
I remember getting picked December 30, 1991, sitting with David Boone and Jeff Marsh and drinking an esky full of stubbies up on in the roof celebrating New Year. A couple of days later, or a day later, in Sydney, about to play my first test match.
Warne was very obviously extremely nervous about his first test, so when things had quietened down a little bit, Swampy and I just took him aside on the rooftop. We looked at the fireworks and we had a couple of quiet beers with him, and told him that, Test cricket was another game and for him to go out there and enjoy it. And I'm not sure it really worked, but we had 30 minutes with him, and we've never forgotten it, because there's Swampy and I, unbeknowingly, being a part of the history of cricket to an extent that nobody would have envisaged.
I didn't think, would he make it? I thought, why have they exposed him so soon? Because he was sort of plucked from left field. He wasn't ready. He was as ready then as I am now to make a comeback. I mean, it was too soon for him, too late for me. But I remember Ian Chappell, when Warne came on to bowl, ringing me up and putting this mobile out the window from the Channel 9 commentary box and saying, TJ, listen to that. And the crowd was roaring. I said, this is for a leggy, mate, because he knew of our relationship, and Ian was part of that trio at that time as well. So No, I just was worried that he may never get to show it, and if for some reason the wheels fell off, then I would be doing my darndest to try and work out how we could pick up the pieces, if you like, because the talent was too good to lose.
He's done it again. Ravi Shastri has decided to cut loose.
Well, one thing I knew very clearly, that this man's going to take a lot of wickets for Australia. And the reason I thought about it in that fashion was he had amazing control. Right through that innings when he was being taken apart by Sachin and myself, he never lost the control.
When you first saw him in that game against India at the SCG, and Ravi Shastri hit a double hundred off him and off the others as well, you still knew.
Yeah, Jones under it. That's the end of the innings. ShaneWarne gets his first Test wicket after prolonged trial and effort.
I worked out then that I knew what I wanted to do, and that was play cricket for Australia.
At 21 or 22, 21 you're pretty ordinary actually, but at 22, mate, you could do things that history says leg spinners can't do until they're 30 or more. Do you think you were built for this?
No, I don't. I think it took a lot of hard work. I think I was given a gift. That was thankfully to my mother and father. That's the gift I was given. Then a lot of people have special gifts, and it takes a while to find out what you're good at, but everyone's good at something. It's just working out what you're good at. For me, I didn't know what I was good at as a kid. All I wanted to do was play football. And cricket was a bit of fun in the summer and sort of kept me off the beaches, which was a bit of a bummer. But I was playing because my mates did, and I enjoyed that camaraderie, and I enjoyed being around a group of guys that were just having some fun. And that's why I played cricket in the summer.
Rodney Hogg was the first guy to recognise ShaneWarne when he was playing for St Kilda. He said, when he saw him for the first time, this guy should be playing for Victoria. And I was cricket manager when we took ShaneWarne to Sydney for his first Shield game. He was fat, he had earrings in, his blonde hair was all over the place, and remarkably, we made him 12th man.
I think I didn't really realise I was any good, to be honest, until I sort of got picked for Victoria, and I thought, gee, what am I getting picked for here? I've played a few club games and did okay, but geez, what's this all about? And then, you know, I didn't know what first-class cricket was all about, and that was a bit of fun and didn't do any good. And then suddenly I got picked for Australia and didn't do any good, and I thought, what am I doing here? I didn't feel like I belonged. And it wasn't until, I suppose, Sri Lanka 92 that I felt like I played some sort of part in actually helping.
I was following that match. I was at Lord's describing a match when that happened in 1992 in Colombo. That was a great moment because he got 3 for none off 12 balls.
A great victory for Australia.
Then got dropped again, and then come back for Boxing Day 92. And that was the expectations I started to feel, that I had to start doing something. I played a few test matches and I hadn't done anything. All I'd been done has been smashed around the park. I'm pretty embarrassed, to be honest.
Like doing, when he's bowled him. That has just beaten the outside edge.
And to come out and get 752 on the last day and help win the test match for Australia, that made me feel like that, hang on a minute, I might be okay at this. And then that gave me confidence. I think no matter what it is in life that you do, whether it be sport, business, whatever, once you feel comfortable in your role and you're not going out there to prove to anybody that you're good enough and you can do your role, that's when you can actually perform. And then since then, I've been very lucky that I've been able to perform because I felt comfortable. I had the support from my teammates, and I felt like I was good enough to do it, and that enabled me to achieve.
And he's been covered in champagne for almost all of the rest of the time since. Having said that, Ian Healy, back then when you were all young, you weren't sure, were you?
No, we weren't. It didn't seem like he was down in confidence at all. He was really urging, he was enthusiastic, he was upbeat around the dressing room, and even the team was sitting around saying, well, hang on, mate, you're talking it up, but you better get a wriggle on yourself. And then he triggered one of the most famous collapses, that one in Colombo where he got 3 for 11. He had 2.5 test matches to settle into test cricket. He'd be forgiven for taking a year, but Warne wasn't happy that he'd wasted the first 2.5 tests.
OK, thanks for the moment, Heels. We're going to have a short break. When we come back, it's the English, it's the Ashes, it's beefy Botham, but before then, it's a reminder of that ball.
1 for 80 here at Old Trafford. ShaneWarne is to come on at the Warwick Road end.
We'd seen a little bit of video of Shane, and I was, standing down the other end as you do, and we talked a little bit about it, and we knew Shane spun the ball a long way. And as what was going through my mind, I know AB sort of sort of said to Warne, he said, see that little fat twat down the other end? He said, he's a good cutter and puller, so make sure you pitch it up there. So, you know, we had a rough idea of where it was going to sort of land.
First ball in Test cricket in England for ShaneWarne.
When that first ball came down, you knew there was a lot of spin on it. You could tell by the way it started drifting and then dip, and when it came through the air, you could hear it fizzing.
He's done it. He started off with the most beautiful delivery.
But little did I think, and I don't think Ian Healy thought either, that it was going to turn that far across me and just roll off the top of the off bail. And, you know, as a batsman, you don't expect that because it's the first ball. You know, you expect it to be fingers a bit stiff and, you know, nothing to sort of, you know, just get it out there, somewhere up there, you know, a little tented, but that wasn't the way Warne bowled. But I suppose when you have a genius at work, he does special things, and that was certainly very special.
Well, that has turned about 2.5 feet. Gadding can't believe his eyes. What a start for ShaneWarne.
I think everybody, no matter how good England have been over the years, the Ashes was the most important series. There's a lot of talk about India and other series, but Australia-England is what it's all about to me. And I think growing up and watching the TV and watching the Ian Chappells and Rick McCosker with his head taped up and Dennis Lilly's shirt undone with a double appeal and all those memories, the memories I have, it was always against England. And I think just being growing up and as an Australian, you can't let the Poms win anything. You just got to beat them up. You got to win.
A flipper, magnificent.
He's been targeting that leg stump for a while, and at last he's managed to get one round the back of an Englishman's pad. Oh, and there's another one. That went zip. And Martin McKay also went zip.
That's out. That's the end of the Test match. And 8 wickets to ShaneWarne, 11 for the Test match. His best figures in the Test match. He's taken 11. A wonderful performance by the Australian team. They've batted well, they've bowled well, they've bowled well.
And those Brisbane figures of 8 for 71 back in December 94 remain his very best to this day. Now, Ian Healy and I have hot-footed across the MCG to the ladies' pavilion here, and Ian Botham is with us. You survived last night?
Yes. Well, I wouldn't say survive. I got home.
What about what is this spell that Warne has got over England?
It's quite amazing, isn't it? I was just watching that footage there, and I was amazed to see Mike Atherton out a couple of times to him. He didn't usually get past Glenn McGrath, did he? But no, he's just amazing, and as he says in that piece, it's all about beating up the English, and that's how it should be. England-Australia is a special contest, and he's a very special part of that contest.
That 8 for 71 came off 50.2 overs. What do you think his greatest skill as a bowler was and is?
I think it's his control. I think he knew what he was doing with the ball, and he was a clever, intelligent bowler in the sense that he worked out what the batsman... If a batsman came up with an idea to try and keep Warne out, well, Warne would come up with something else. But he'd always get it in the right areas. He didn't give you very many bad balls to hit. And you're watching as a commentator, I'm thinking, he's got to slip in a full toss here. And if he did, it usually took the batsman by surprise and got caught at mid-wicket or something. But, you know, he just amazing. His control, for me, was the key.
I remember when we used to talk in the old days, we'd talk a bit about pressure. And you used to say, you know, what's pressure? Pressure is something that you put on yourself. He seems as good a cricketer under pressure as there's ever been.
Well, I think if you want to be the best, you've got to be prepared to perform in the kitchen, and that's when it gets hot. And pressure really is something that people talk about. You know, it makes kettles whistle, is what I used to say. And I think that Warne wants to be in that position. He wants to be where the team need him. You know, whenever Australia are struggling and they need a breakthrough, McGrath or Warne, or usually both together. And that's what happens, and that's what he wants. He wants to be the man that makes things happen.
We see lots of Ashes batsmen here struggling to warn. Beefy, how would you go about playing him?
Oh, I'd have easy, no problems at all, mate. I'd have taken him out the night before, and I'd have got him home about 7 o'clock in the morning. I'd have had no problems with him.
Might have worked too, look at that.
No, I think you have to be positive with Warne. I don't think you can allow him to settle and get into a routine, and I think you've got to try and take the game to him. Some days it'll come off. I think Kevin Peterson has shown that it can be done in this series at times. But again, at the end of the day, Warne has usually got an answer.
Another thing you used to say was he really should have captained Australia.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, there's probably a few things that, I mean, the front page is quite nice once in a while from past experiences. Heels, usually your fault. But no, I think that that might have gone against him. But for me, I think he's a natural cricketing captain. I think he's a natural leader of men. And I think he'd have done an exceptional job. I think he's got a very good cricket brain.
But I agree with all that, but not too much on his plate. You think, like, putting him right up there to cope with how his team's going, how his bowlers are going, did he need that?
I don't know if he needed it. I think he wanted it. And I think that's quite important, and I think he would have done a very good job. Yeah. I think he'd have actually grown into it, and who knows, you might have actually taken his whole game to a new dimension.
And an extraordinary personality. I mean, the power of his personality has won situations too, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, it's a mind game, isn't it, with him? You know, he comes, he sits at home and works out a few new names for batsmen, you know, Shermanator and all this sort of stuff. Yeah, and I think it's great. You know, and he comes out with this, and I have to scratch Shermanator. I'm thinking, so we suddenly start looking up on Google, what's Shermanator and things. No, he's clever, and he likes to get inside the batsman's head, and that's all part and parcel of the game. And I think, sadly, I didn't play Test cricket against him. As I finished, he started, but I'd love to have played against him.
All right. Thanks very much for joining us at the Sydney Cricket Ground this evening, Beefy. We're going to move forward to, just a week or two, really, to the Boxing Day Test 1994 in Melbourne. And at this stage, the old razzler-dazzler, he hadn't got a hat-trick.
Warne continuing. Oh, and hit the pad. Yes, he's got him. That's out. LBW.
The moment that probably has stood out the most, being like a young kid watching on TV, would be ShaneWarne's hat-trick. I was at home watching that, and we didn't actually watch a lot of cricket growing up on television. We played it more in the backyard, having two brothers. But that sort of brings back a lot of memories.
Oh, and that's out. Got behind. Yes, he's got him. Beautifully bowled by Warne.
I think it was David Boone's birthday too on that particular day. I took that catch.
In the field at any other stage, you're saying, please hit it to me. But when it's a hat-trick, you're probably a little bit nervous on the other side of the coin and saying, please don't.
So I'm walking the bowl, middle of MCG, 30, 40,000 people there. I'm coming in, what do I bowl? Do I want the ball to bounce or do I want the ball to turn? I'm not quite sure, but I've pictured how I want to happen. So I came on and decided to bowl a topspin, which means the ball's going to bounce. So when I come, I could hear a pin drop, the whole crowd went silent. And bowl it. Devin Malcolm, looking like Robocop, pushes forward, got the glove, the keg on legs, fielding a bat pad, dived and took an absolute screamer in his right hand.
Yes! I was lucky, and it bobbed out to me and managed to just get the fingertips under it. So the fastest I've ever seen Warne move.
That's a hat-trick to ShaneWarne, a great moment in his career.
It doesn't often happen, so it's lovely to be on air when it does happen, and of course when it's Warne it's even better. The celebration was incredible. I mean, the commentary box went berserk, not just me, everybody in the commentary box jumped up and down. And Warne, did what he always does. It was a very special moment for him. Just one of those lovely things to be part of.
well, what a birthday present to be a part of a hat-trick. I think when you orientate yourself towards a team performance and you're a part of somebody else's success as well as the team's success, it's one of the most rewarding things that you never forget.
What a catch by David Booth.
ShaneWarne's brilliant career might not be over, but undeniably it's taken its biggest stone.
Marks a hat-trick of scandals for the champion spinner after sex and betting controversy. It's already over. It seems cricket is the only thing left.
I see myself as a cricketer and a pretty genuine bloke, just a normal, down-to-earth person who does extraordinary things on a cricket field. And the people that want to try and decipher that and judge me and do all those different types of things, well, at the end of the day, they'll have an opinion sometimes, and not everyone will like you, and I understand that. And at the end of the day, if people like you, great. If they don't, well, so be it.
I think the reason you've seen a lot of back page stuff is because of his bowling, and the front page stuff is that he probably hasn't handled the stuff away from the game as well as probably people expected him to do.
A lot of it is perhaps blown out of proportion. A lot of it's down to just being a bloody idiot, which you regret afterwards, and we've all been there and all done it. So I'm certainly not going to judge Warne for his off-field activities, and I think you've got to be a very unique person if you're in that position.
If something is personally going pear-shaped, it's hard to get that out of your mind and keep your professional life in 100% sort of tact. Warne is remarkable the way he is able to do that.
I think we all make mistakes along the way, and I'm going to make a few more ahead too into the future, but at the end of the day, I know that all I have to do when I step out in the cricket field, I've got this way of, I don't know, I use whatever it is, no matter what the situation, I can actually just get out there and play. And unfortunately, I've had a few off-field things that have been pretty tough to deal with. And I think a lot of people have to deal with those sort of things in their life as well. But they don't have to deal with the spotlight and the scrutiny that I've had to deal with. And I think at times I brought a lot of it on myself, and I'm the first one to apologise for that, and I know I bring it on myself. But a lot of it, I think, has been harsh and a bit unfair too, but that comes with the territory.
Oh, hello, there's a problem out there, and Warne has gone down on his shoulder. Oh, he's obviously popped it out.
I want to talk about the toll the game might have taken on you physically for a start.
Yeah, I've probably been 10 years since I played pain-free. Since 98 to 2001 was the toughest period. I didn't know if I could keep playing. I lost a little bit of interest. I lost the dedication and keep coming back from injuries. The disappointment of not being able to do what I wanted to do. There was times where I was trying to spin leg breaks and it wouldn't happen. That's where I've got Terry Jenner to thank, to go back and work with the doctor.
When he was omitted in Antigua, I was there again, and he gave me a special bottle of red way back in those old academy days. He gave one to Marsh and one to me. I always thought I'd find the right time to drink it, so incredibly I took it to the West Indies with me because I felt something was at risk, and I wanted to drink the red with him around the pool at the Halcyon Cove when he got dropped, because the first time really that he'd been dropped from the Australian side, and I thought, what a moment. It doesn't have to be to celebrate, it could be to commiserate and maybe to regenerate the thoughts we had way back then. Sadly, we never quite managed to get together that night. So I've still got it. I think now I'll drink it with him upon retirement. But when he went to England, his confidence again was quite low for that World Cup. He'd got a bit of clout. I think he got 3 cheap wickets against the West Indies or someone, but it wasn't the old Warne. I think he knew that, and he was thinking that he might give it away. I've read Steve Waugh took him for a walk around the park and talked him up, and then the big moment came at Edgbaston against South Africa, and I mean that's the vintage Warne.
He was the sort of guy that if you give him a real tough challenge, like a one-day game on a non-turning wicket, only 200 runs on the board, he'll find a way of getting wickets for you.
Well, the message, it seems, has got through to Steve Waugh, ShaneWarne.
I remember Steve Waugh throwing the ball and said, "We need you now." And I thought, you're kidding. There were about none for 50 odd or none for 60 off about 11 overs or 13 overs or something like that. And we only made, as you say, 213. So something had to happen. Herschel Gibbs and Gary Kirsten were smashing them. They were on fire. and you can feel the World Cup slipping.
Ian Healy and I are going through the life and times of ShaneWarne. There is nobody who responds better to adversity than ShaneWarne. Nobody.
No, I thought Ian Botham spotted it perfectly and summed it up great. He loves the kitchen when it is at its hottest. He is the most winningest player in the history of the game. 91 wins he's had out of his 144 tests, and he's had a lot to do with Australia's resurgence. Don't worry about that. But they've ridden on his shoulders every match on day 4 and day 5, and everyone just said, oh, don't worry, Warne will get us there. Now, you know him pretty well too, having had a lot to do with him with Hampshire. The highs are so easy to ride with him, aren't they?
Yeah, they are. I mean, the reason I was so captivated at Adelaide was I felt he put the signature on the bit of paper that is his whole career. I thought that no one else could have done that, and funny enough, we showed some vision there of the World Cup semi-final at Edgbaston against the South Africans, and that's the other performance I'd picked. Those two performances, Adelaide that morning, just a month ago, and that World Cup, because I can't think of Dennis Lee conceivably, maybe one of those West Indian fast bowlers, but I can't think of anybody who could have so imposed himself on a game and sucked it back for his team to go on and win.
Yeah, he had none for 167 in the first innings of that Adelaide Test, and everyone was starting to think, oh, Warne's gone. Warne has got nothing. Then he bounces back with 4 for 49, and England are stuck on their crease again. Beautiful.
All right, enough from Ian Healy and Mark Nicholas. Let's hear from the blokes that really matter, the ones with him in the dressing room.
Well, ShaneWarne, to me, it has given me the most pleasure in my career as a cricketer, being a wicket-keeper. To be in the position that I'm in, when he's bowling, it's simply the best seat in the house.
He's got him. I think it's hard to sum up Shane in one word. You know, he's just, you know, in respects to cricket and cricketers, to me, Warnie's always been here while the rest of us are down here. And just everything he does is also always bigger and better than anyone else.
I think the greatest memories I have of, I guess, our friendship is at Hampshire. I was really struggling with my cricket. I wasn't going really well, as well as I would have liked. Didn't have any family, didn't have any close friends there at that stage, and Warnie was always there for me.
Well, I would say Warnie's one of the most generous blokes I know. Yeah, he'd do a great deal to help you out at the drop of a hat, and that's one of the things I really enjoy about him, as well as his larger-than-life character and his unbelievable skills. That's one of his great traits.
I think probably my first memory of Warne was my funniest, actually. The Victorians were playing in Queensland in a Sheffield Shield game, and he was sitting out the front of a change room, and he had a 4-20 pie in this hand with a cigarette wedged here and a can of Coke in that hand. And as we went out to bat, I bumped Ian Healy, and I said, have a go at this bloke. He's got absolutely no hope.
He is an enigma. How he can do what he's done, become the greatest ever, well, one of the greatest ever Australian sportsmen, is unbelievable. And again, hats off, mate. A lot of us, you know, drink our Diet Coke and run and do our push-ups and sit-ups, because that's going to make us a better player. He's just ShaneWarne. He's just the bloke from St Kilda. Runs in, bowls his leggies, loves his mates, loves his cricket. That's why he's a legend.
Shane was the first in our lifetime that could control spin and accuracy and create pressure on the batsman that was something they couldn't get away from. And if you can't get away from Warne, he's going to get you. So the mojo, as you put it, I think the curve, his capacity to have great alignment, it's not so much where Warne lands that creates the danger, it's how it arrives.
Got him! That's for a ball, ShaneWarne. What a wicket that is. He's really teed him up, and he has struck just before lunch. Well, he's played so well, Shane Paul. He'd be so disappointed. He's almost got them to lunch, and then all of a sudden, Warne strikes. Down. Yeah, that's a very good shot.
No third man. So he's reached 86, equal to his highest score. That's a good shot. Beautifully timed.
Goes for it. Warne moves to 96. Off for it. But ShaneWarne survive and moves to 99. Goes for it. There's a man out there who's getting under it. And he's got it.
I knew he was a great bowler, but I don't think anybody could have foreseen the stature, the kind of star the man will become. And he has that quality that the great athletes have, like Tiger Woods, like Muhammad Ali, like George Best. He involves people who are not necessarily involved in their sport, because there's a quality about him which is totally engaging and embraces the universe in a sense. So that's been Shane's great gift to the game, and that you could never ever have anticipated. I mean, it just developed. God knows what the game will do without him. I mean, it's like taking off somebody's right arm. It's as extreme as that.
He was a champion, a winner, and the best. And that's important for any game. Every single sport needs a real winner and a real champion in every era. And Warne was that. He was that in spades, certainly as a bowler, not just as a slow bowler. He was an extraordinary phenomenon, and I think all of that was great for the game.
He's my sporting hero. I just absolutely love watching him play. He's changed the way people look at cricket. You go down to the park now and every kid wants to let the ball rip and bowl leg spinners. You know, he's a magician. He's an absolute genius.
He's a genuine superhero. He's extraordinarily talented. Best bowler that cricket's ever seen. And away from the cricket arena, he gets people's attention. That's what sets him apart from everyone else, and that's why people love him.
It's showbiz to an extent, and that's the thing that all great athletes have, that glamorous side to them which separates them from the pack. But in the end, in the final analysis, he's an athlete, and a very, very fine one, and one of the greatest cricketers there's ever been, if not the greatest cricketer that we've seen.
Wonderful tributes there. I like that Sam Newman line about capturing attention. I think that's a key thing in the whole Shane Warne story. I'm sitting where he may well sit himself during the Sydney Test match. This is the players' balcony area just outside the Sydney Cricket Ground. I guess the question we all asked a few days ago was why now? Why on December the 21st, 15 years after he first played and 4 days before Christmas, did he decide to call it a day? Here's the answer.
Mate, you surprised me. I thought maybe 2 more years with Hampshire, throw in the Test series in between, and that might see you out, but a lot earlier.
Yeah, it's, I suppose when you play for a long period of time, you speak to lots of different people and do all those different types of things. It's, people always say to you, you'll know when the time's right, you'll know when the time's right, and I sort of doubted that, and I didn't really quite understand that. And, you know, it's a big part of your life. I think it was 1988, I got into the state squad. 88, 89, which is nearly 20 seasons ago. But now I know what they're talking about. You know, the penny dropped. When it dropped, I'm not quite sure. I think after 2005 Ashes series, I probably would have retired if we had have won. But that wasn't to be. So I think it was a team, without anyone saying anything, I think it was a bit of a team goal that, hang on a minute, we've still got a fair bit of unfinished business here, because it really hurt, and it hurt a lot. And for me, I said, I'm going to keep playing until we get this earn back. If I have to play till I'm 45, and I'm good enough to warrant a spot still, and the enjoyment's there, I'm going to keep playing until we get that back. And it's just amazing, once again, the script, whoever writes my scripts, the way it panned out, to win the first 3 Test matches, to have that opportunity to retire and go out on a high. I just knew the time was now.
I'd like to get to the bottom of the process a little bit. When did you think about retiring and you might retire? Who did you go to talk to about it? And then when did it become really clear in your mind that this is it?
It's quite, you know, I've been very lucky that I've had a lot of people that have helped me. I spoke to my parents, my mum and dad in Adelaide. I spoke to my brother in Adelaide. I spoke to Michael Clark in Brisbane. I spoke to Ian Chappell in Perth. Ian Chappell's probably been the person I've learnt most off out of cricket. I would have loved to have played under Ian Chappell. It would have been fantastic. I reckon it would have been fun.
I remember I was standing out in the middle waiting to do the toss before a game one day, and it was a pretty warm day, and Warne came over perspiring and he said, "What the bloody hell are we doing these 45-minute fielding drills for?" He said, "I just need to come out here." He said, "I need to bowl a couple of dozen balls or whatever it takes to make sure that they're coming out all right." He said, "Then I need to go back, have a shower, sit down, have a fag and have a cup of tea and just think about the batsman that I've got to bowl to today to get my mind right." He said, we don't need all this crap, you know." And I said to him, "Mate, you should have played with us." And he said, "I'd have loved to have played with you a lot." And a big smile came on his face.
I first met him in I think it was 89 or 1990, I can't remember which year. It was when I was at the academy and Terry Jenner organised it. And we talked about a range of different things. But the main thing I remember from that chat was about knowing yourself. I didn't quite get it at the time, but it took a few years to sort of sink in about knowing myself. Know what I need to do, know how to prepare, know what I need the night before. Just know yourself. And I suppose I sit here today, I know myself pretty well. I'm happy with who I am.
Well, Shane had made up his mind he was going to retire. When he came and had a chat to me, it really was a matter of timing. You know, when did I think would be the best, the right timing?
And one of the things he said, besides a lot of, 15,000 other things that were spot on, the one thing that sort of I remember speaking to Ian in Perth about was he said, "It's better that they say, 'Why are you?' rather than 'Why don't you?'" And, when I walked away from that, I thought, we've got to win tomorrow. We've got to win so then I can have that opportunity to hopefully say thank you to the fans in Melbourne. So enjoy it with the team that we're on this ride with. You asked the question about why am I retiring now? Because it was about the team. If it was about me, I would have retired at the start of the summer and gone to Brisbane and said thanks, and gone to Adelaide and said thanks, and gone to Perth and said thanks. But it wasn't about that. I was going to keep playing until that urn was back in Australia. And if that meant I had to wait and it was 1-1 going to Sydney, I'd play that test match. And then we win, and then I'd say I'm finished. I don't think I'll be sad. I think I'll be happy because I've achieved so much with a group of guys, with all the trophies we've won. But as an individual, unbelievable. I just, I would never have dreamt of doing this sort of stuff. I didn't think I was good enough.
Well, this is the walk that the players take in the old members' pavilion from the dressing rooms behind me down out onto the field. And over the next 5 days, it'll be the last time that Messrs Langer, McGrath and Warne do so in a test match. Has he got the timing right?
I think he has, one, because he says he has, but he was really palpably relieved during that interview with me. It looked like a weight had lifted off his shoulder to me, and it felt like that. So he's got it right. Physically, he's not recovering from the massive workloads he puts himself under, and his captain puts him under. And I think that the minor disciplines of being in a team start to grate on you when you become older and your kids are growing up, and you've still got to wear the right uniform. You've still got to be on the bus at that certain time. You've got to be at that function, and you've got to do that at that function. So those sort of disciplines start to wear thin as you're growing into your middle age, 37 years of age. So yeah, he got it right. Fingers crossed for a big one tomorrow.
Well, it will be the final curtain call here at the Sydney Cricket Ground. Having said that, even Warne will do well to match the magic of Boxing Day just the other day.
There was such a build-up to it. There was, nearly 90,000 people there. The crowd was roaring.
Boxing Day test, 90,000 people. As he says, the script was there for him to write, and it just came true.
I think the 700 is going to live long.
I'm pretty happy with that one. To do it here in Melbourne was, I don't know who's writing my scripts, but it's pretty good.
Oh, he's got him. He's tossed that one up.
Gone for it, and it's out! Warne's got through. What a performance. It's gone for it. He could be out. He should be out. He is out. Warne gets 4. Can he get 5?
Hit that all right, but straight to Andrew Simons, and that will be a 5-wicket haul for ShaneWarne. his 37th 5-wicket haul. More importantly, it's here on Boxing Day at the MCG. Well bowled, ShaneWarne.
When I sat the kids down and said, look, Daddy's going to retire tomorrow from cricket, they sort of looked at me funny, and I sort of, what are you talking about? And they said, well, what do you mean, Dad? And I said, oh, I'm retiring, you know, spend more time with you guys, and it's going to be great, I can't wait. They said, well, are you still playing cricket? I said, oh, no, I'm not going to play for Victoria or St Kilda or Australia. I'm still going to honour my contract at Hampshire and play for 2 years, but I'm retiring from all other cricket. They said, well, does that mean you can still play in the backyard with us? And I said, of course it does. So they thought I was retiring from backyard cricket with them too, so that was quite funny. So yeah, look, I've got plenty of days looking forward to playing with Jackson and Brooke and Summer in the backyard, and I think they were sort of happy because they know I'm going to be around a lot more, and I'm looking forward to that phase of my life as well. I've missed out on a lot. I've missed out a lot of when they're getting you know, best kid of the week for their manners, or tidy kid of the week for being neat and tidy at school. The feeling, I think, when you go to pick your kids up and they run up and jump up and say, I missed you, Dad, I love you, that's what it's about.
Oh, well, maybe maturity's getting to him.
Yeah, well, I think his life spins as well as the deliveries he bowls, doesn't he? So that's what I'm going to miss about him, his presence, his absolute presence. He's more than a cricketer, and well, he has been more than a cricketer, so that's what I'm certainly going to miss.
All right, and what about the skills? I mean, will we ever see the like again?
I don't think so, not in our time. I hope Cricket Australia get to the bottom of exactly what those skills were. What skills do we need to replace? We've talked about his technical skills, his tactical, his mental and psychological. There's so many skills there. What about the chemistry that made the bookends work so well together, McGrath and Warne? What was that chemistry? Can we replace it? Do we know about it first, what it was, and how do we replace it? It's been just an enthralling chapter in the rich tradition of the baggy green. Bold Warne.
When Wisden chose their 5 cricketers of the last century, they went for Sir Jack Hobbs, Sir Donald Bradman, Sir Garfield Sobers and Sir Vivian Richards. With them in the list of 5 was just plain old Warne. Of course, that's the point. He's been anything but plain old Warne. We shall miss the magic, we shall miss the greatest entertainer of the